Long ago, in a mystical African village, there lived a princess named Ada. She was the first daughter of King Omari. Unlike her three younger sisters, Ada was unmarried because of her stout build. She attracted no suitors because of her considerable weight, which made her the target of mockery by some villagers. Some mocked her in song, while others spread gossip about her weight. Some claimed that 3 belts were tied together to fit around her waist, while others claimed that she could eat an entire goat in a day. Ada's parents, King Omari and the Queen, worried about their daughter, tried several times to involve her in arranged marriages, but to no avail. Ada, however, had lost all hope because of her addiction to food and believed that any man marrying her would do so for status, not love. She wanted to be loved by whoever married her, even if she was usually unhappy. Yet dancing brought Ada some happiness despite her general dissatisfaction with her life. She was an exceptional dancer. Often she would hide and start dancing to the rhythm she made with her mouth. Whenever there were festivals, Ada would look for a secluded spot where she could hear the music and dance to her heart's content. She always hid because she didn't want people to make fun of her. It was the end of another happy year, and time for the annual festival in the 4 neighboring villages. As usual, everyone was buzzing with excitement. Some people couldn't wait to show off their best finery. Some were polishing their dance steps practiced under musical instruments, while others couldn't wait to enjoy the variety of meals that would be served that day. Ada, on the other hand, just wanted to find a secluded spot that would give her the freedom to express her dance steps. Finally, she found a place where she could hear the drums and flutes clearly, then began to dance with a broad smile on her face. However, she soon noticed that the drumming was getting louder and louder, but she ignored it because she was absorbed in her dance. Suddenly, the festival music stopped, but the drumming continued. She immediately turned and saw a man drumming with a huge smile on his face. The man stopped playing and asked her why she had stopped dancing. Ada immediately began to run, and the man followed, but because she was too heavy to run fast, he quickly caught up with her. "Leave me alone," she said breathlessly. "Go find your comic relief elsewhere." The man looked at her kindly, wondering why she thought she was a joke to him. "I got lost trying to get to the market square, and was trying to find my way when I saw you dancing in your corner. So I decided to support you with my drum," he says. Ada took a better look at the color of the young man's outfit and realized he wasn't from her village. She thanked him for his support, then directed him to the market square. But the man insisted he'd rather continue playing for her, and without Ada's approval, he started beating his drum again, urging her to dance. When Ada saw that he wasn't going to give up, she began to make little hip movements to the rhythm of his beats. After all, what did she have to lose? He was a stranger she'd never see again, and she had the chance to dance the way she'd always wanted to. After a long moment, Ada stopped dancing. "I really enjoyed it," she told him. "Jabari," he replied. Ada told him his name, then announced that she had to go home. But Jabari begged her to come back the next day, and Ada agreed. On the way home, she thought about the young man, wondering why he was so kind to her and even wanted to spend more time with her. "Of course he's not attracted to me," she thought. She thought all night that it was unusual for such a handsome man to be attracted to a woman like her. She couldn't stop thinking about him, but she did her best not to get too excited. The following evening, Ada met her new friend Jabari. When Jabari laid eyes on her, he was so excited, and Ada was excited to see him too. They talked for a long time and learned a few things from each other. After chatting for a long time, he started drumming again so that Ada could give free rein to her passion. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and they continued to meet at their usual place. It was always the best part of their day. Finally, Jabari told Ada what he thought of her. Although Ada had long suspected that he loved her, she didn't want to jump to every possible conclusion. She was glad when he finally expressed it, because she felt the same way too. "I can come with my family the next market day to see your parents," he said. Ada's heart was filled with joy. Ada quickly informed her parents that a man from the neighboring village was coming to see them to ask for her hand in marriage. The king and queen were overjoyed. They had never thought such a day would come. Unfortunately, calamity struck quickly. A week before the meeting, an airborne disease spread to the entire 4 villages and their surrounding areas. To prevent people from spreading the disease, each village closed its borders, and their leaders also asked people to stay inside their homes. Ada was very sad not to be able to see her future husband every day as usual. To make matters worse, something else happened after the borders were closed. Ada contracted the disease, and for over 3 months she struggled to stay alive. The illness greatly affected her appetite, making her weak, and it was impossible for her to finish half a plate of food in a day. Over the months, an herbalist eventually found a cure, and people gradually began to feel better. When Ada made a full recovery, the first thing she discovered was that she had massively lost weight. She couldn't believe it. She was almost as thin as her 3 sisters. It was a dream come true. That wasn't the only thing that had changed. Her face had also become more defined, and her beauty was obvious even to blind eyes. She realized that everywhere she went, she was looked at with admiration by men who had never noticed her in the past. The richest men among them also began to approach her for marriage talks. Ada began to feel on top of the world, and suddenly she felt too good for Jabari. When the borders finally opened, Ada headed for their favorite spot where she and Jabari used to meet. Ada knew that Jabari would certainly be there waiting for her. When Jabari laid eyes on her, he almost didn't recognize her. "By all the gods, my princess, I really missed your beautiful smile," he said. Ada asked him to stop. She felt too superior to be in his presence. Jabari thought she was acting like this because she missed him, so he started drumming again for her to dance. But she screamed at him, telling him to stop. "Drummer noise, I'm not interested in what you play. I came here to tell you that I'm no longer interested in marrying you," she declared as she walked away. She warned him never to try to see her again, because he didn't belong to the same caliber, she said, before disappearing into the landscape. Weeks passed, and Jabari continued to send messages to Ada. Perhaps she might have changed her mind, but she ignored them all. Instead, she entertained the long line of men who were interested in marrying her. One day, she had an idea. Ada decided to organize a wrestling competition for eligible bachelors in the village, and whoever emerged victorious would be crowned her suitor. The competition was set, and it went beyond the borders of her village. Many men signed up to win the heart of the beautiful Ada, the first daughter of the great King Omari. The king even invited partners and wealthy people to the event. So Ada decided to stay indoors for the next 4 months, receiving the finest beauty treatments to impress her suitors. But she failed to recognize that it was the disease that had made her thinner. Her old eating habits had remained the same. While Ada was inside, she continued to eat large portions of food, and day after day, the weights began to pile on again. When the 4 months were up, Ada had regained her previous size. She was disappointed with herself and did her best to cancel the event, but her father refused. "I'm sure you'll find a suitor, whatever your current situation," he assured her. On the day of the event, warriors, farmers, merchants, and many eligible bachelors made their way to the village square, preparing to win Ada's heart. But when Ada was called to greet her visitors, the men looked at her in shock. She was not what the rumors portrayed, and one by one, they began to walk away, heading home. Ada had never been so embarrassed in her life. When she was about to leave because of shame, her eyes fell on a familiar silhouette. It was Jabari, but it wasn't the Jabari she knew. He was dressed like royalty, very different from the low-grade material he'd worn when they first met. They looked at each other for a moment, and a voice soon interrupted their gaze. "My prince, your father is ready to leave now," the voice said. Like Ada, Jabari was royalty. His father was the king of one of the 4 villages, but because of his love of music, he usually dressed up to drum with everyone during the festivities, as he didn't want to be treated specially by the other villages. As Ada watched Jabari turn his back and begin to walk away, she realized that she had lost a good man who loved her in spite of everything. It's such a shame, she thought, because she never had the chance to find love again, and in the end, she had to settle for being the 10th wife of an old chief. The moral of this story is that you should never neglect those who were there for you when you were at your worst, because that kind of person is becoming pretty rare these days, and if you treat them unfairly, you may never have the opportunity to find those same people when you're at your lowest point.